Everybody?
Oh, 1 second. Okay, good to go.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the January 13th Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee. I'll call it to order. And first off, we have two folks who would like to speak for the public comment portion. And I'm going to just review the rules for speaking under the privilege of the floor that we have. I agree to a 3-minute time limit. I agree not to raise my voice. I agree not to use lewd, obscene, profane, slanderous, or libelous language or speak or act in a manner that would tend to incite a breach of the peace. I agree not to speak about county personnel matters. Personnel matters include comments about the job performance of named county employees other than elected officials. After 3 minutes, I agree to leave the microphone and yield the floor. Transferring time to another person is not permitted. I agree to be courteous and not make comments, gestures, outbursts, or other disruptions while the members of the public or legislators are speaking. I agree that if I cause a disruption and am asked to leave, I will leave the chambers. So, is it Diana Cole?
Welcome to the new year.
Well, welcome to you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I think most of you have seen me here before. I'm a native Ithacan who wants the beautification of our beautiful area saved. And I'm particularly oriented toward all the emerging signs that are blocking the views of wildflowers, trees, and whatever we go along our daily routes. I'm just giving an update because I met with Randy, who's been very helpful this last Friday, and is going to hook me up with the Ithaca-Tompkins County Transportation Council and some other ideas, the Cooperative Extension. And so I'm sending around another reminder. This is a new one, which shows you the 4 driveway signs all along Coddington Road. There are driveways for 9 miles on that road. Why do we need those signs? These are just a really good example. There are several others which I've spoken of in previous months. So, yeah, I love this area and I want it reserved. And another thing, I've done some research, and actually I'm going to do more of that before next meeting around the signs themselves. The metal of the signs that go into the ground actually affects the environment as well. Yes. So with all these ideas, I'm trying to do what they did a few years ago in the 80s when the billboards were going crazy and the community had to come around and say, hey, there's too many billboards and it's ruining our countryside. So I'm probably taking this to another, I'm hoping, these won't be prolific, and they are. And I've already talked about Route 366 is unbelievable, the big signs. So I really appreciate Randy and Veronica's meeting with me and helping this go forward. And if there's any questions, I'm very open to that. And any ideas?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for hearing me.
Okay, next up we have Amanda Kirchgessner.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just curious how people here define environmental quality. Just one thing I've noticed in volunteering with our unhoused population this holiday season, a downtown shelter near the jungle is a really, really bad idea. So if we're thinking about long-term environmental quality for everybody, finding locations that are outside of the city center where people can actually begin to reintegrate with themselves without the distractions that are readily available in that neighborhood would be a good idea. You're looking at long-term problems if you continue with the plan. More relevant to this committee, perhaps, I think we might consider looking at consolidating park services in this county. Parks are a big draw. Lots of villages and townships and cities in the county have them. I'm wondering what it would look like to even begin to think about what consolidating those resources and having dedicated people work on that front. I'm certain Cornell would love to get their hands into that one. They certainly have educated people and a lot of resources. You could point to their rebranding of the plantations as the Botanic Gardens, but perhaps there's some spillover there. I know that we could do a lot more to look at what a more regenerative landscape might look like, and consolidation of those resources would probably open us up to a lot more funding from the federal and state levels as well. And I know that we have a lot of talented people working in multiple municipalities and at the county level who work around these things already. So also, as parks are common spaces, it's generally a really good investment in the community. Cortland County shouldn't have better parks than us, and they absolutely do. So come on, let's get it together. Thank you for your time. My offer for coffee stands. If I need to send out instructions on how to meet with me again, I'm happy to do so. But I know those emails send because the clerks tell me they do. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Annie, we also have Brian Eden on Zoom.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Brian.
Good morning. So are you ready for me?
Yes, go ahead. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, as you know, I'd prefer to be there in person, but it wasn't possible today. But I hope that you all had a more enjoyable and relaxing holiday than I did. Spent much of it lobbying and writing documents, and then recovering from a severely sprained ankle that I suffered at the governor's office, lobbying her to sign the Climate Superfund bill. But back to matters of county governance. I've sent everybody over the weekend our documents for them to peruse, and since the Cuga salt mine issue comes before you into your purview probably less than once a year, I will review the history and highlight our concerns. We believe that we prepared an excellent document, both factually and legally. Just go through the history. When the Retzoff, the other salt mine in New York, collapsed, our excellent assembly member, Marty Luster, lobbied the state legislature to hold a hearing on why it had collapsed. And after that, he reached an agreement with the DEC that they would ask for a environmental impact statement at their next permit renewal. Well, the next permit renewal came, they asked for it, and Cargill said that you don't have statutory regulation over us. We'll only provide you information that we feel we want to. And so they signed an agreement in 2000 saying, the DEC said, we have authority to regulate you, and the Cargill saying, no, you don't. So they did prepare this enhanced environmental assessment. It wasn't a secret document. There was no scoping. There was no public comment. And then the public didn't have access to it after. So when the permit renewal came forward, there were people asked for foils to get some of the documents. And the DEC rejected them. There was an appeal filed, and in 2002, senior ALJ from DEC heard the proceeding and said that yes, most of the things that the folks asked for should have been provided to them. But 2 years later, the assistant commissioner said, no, all this is trade secret. The public doesn't have access to it. So anyway, we're very much in need of your continuing support. We've always had municipal and state legislator support universally. There's no one that's ever come forward saying that an EIS is not mandated or required in this case. And retired DEC people have told us, of course, it was required. So we're here representing the public interest. This all costs a lot of money, and we're just asking for a seat at the table. And so I know that we don't have a resolution on the agenda. The case was not meeting, and the agenda closed too soon for me to get something on your agenda. But I certainly hope that somebody in the legislature would take this up and file it as a member filed item for the next meeting. So thanks so much, and I'm glad to work with anybody that wants to do that.
Thank you very much, Brian. Okay, so next on our agenda, I wanted to say that Amanda Champion, legislator, was not able to make it today, so she's excused from today's meeting. And any changes to the agenda? I know we have a lot of staff here today. Does anybody need to move things around at all? I think we have pretty much all the planning department up here, all the good folks from the planning department. And if anybody else is listening online, that was a glitch. That was the audio. We're still working on that here. So let's see. And so why don't we go to the minutes approval? We have minutes from December 9th, 2024 from last year. Would anybody like to move those? Randy moves, Veronica seconds. Any comments, corrections, suggestions? All right, thank you for doing those, Brittany. All those in favor of the minutes? That passes unanimously, thank you. And then we have advisory board appointments. And I found there's an app for suggesting how to pronounce names, so hopefully I'll do a little bit better than last time, but we'll see. We have from the Environmental Management Council, Thomas Hirasuna, at-large member, expires December 31st, 2026. Daniel Antonioli, at-large member, expires December 31st, 2025. Ace Dufresne, a student number 1 representative, term expires 2025. Glad to see a student member on there. I know the EMC has been working on having more students join. And the Water Resources Council, Andrew Murphy, at-large member, expires December 31st, 2026. Would someone like to move those? Veronica, seconded by Greg. If we need to, we could go into executive session. If anybody has any questions or concerns? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, that passes unanimously, thank you. And next we have the chair's report. First off, I just wanted to say the assignments for committees for 2025, they take effect in February, so we don't have those assignments yet. I would imagine we'll have those by the next legislature meeting on the 21st, I believe that is. So we'll look forward to that. We'll see who's chair and who's members of this committee and other committees at that point. And then at that point too, we'll look at scheduling the committee, you know, what day and time. So for February, please look on the schedule and see when the meetings are. It's a possibility it might be a different day or time. And then committee goals, we talked about this a little bit last time. As we've brought up before, I think a lot of what we do here in this committee is supporting what work our departments are already doing. So some of the things we did talk about, though, in addition, would be looking at the green infrastructure with CROWD, which is and thanks, Brittany, for writing this down in the minutes, the circularity, reuse, and zero waste development, to see if there's any way we can support their efforts, or at least find out what they're doing. And then as far as supporting the green building policy and green infrastructure projects. So maybe take a look at that earlier in the year and talk to staff and work more with the other committees, F&I, facilities and infrastructure, and downtown facilities, to make sure we can get as many projects into the budget as possible for this year. And then legislator Randy Brown brought up about trying to see if departments could give us more updates on their budgets rather than waiting till the end of the year. Anything else other folks have thought of, or any staff that have suggestions for us? Okay, I'll take suggestions to bring snacks. I'd be willing to bring snacks for this meeting. So you can catch me offline if that's something you're interested in. Let's see. Then why don't we move right along? We have county administrators report, and we have Corsa Akumfi, our new county administrator. So welcome. We also have Norma Jane, our deputy county administrator here. Do you folks have any report for us today?
Yeah, I will pivot to Norma.
I don't have any reports for the committee today. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, and welcome again.
Thank you.
Akumfi. Let's see, we'll go right on to our Department of Planning and Sustainability. Is there any report, Katie? All right, she's coming over. We have Katie Borgella, our Commissioner of Planning and Sustainability.
Great, thanks. Hi, everybody. Just a couple of items for you. The first one is I wanted to make sure everyone knows that on December 18th, FEMA sent out the letter of final determination for the updated flood maps that are going to be going into effect. That date of that letter is important because it marks 6 months from that date is when the maps will actually be in effect. So June 18th of 2025 is when those are proposed to be in effect. And in that interim, that 6-month period, that is also the time for our local municipalities to work on updating their ordinance and adopting it as a condition of continued eligibility in the National Flood Insurance Program. They have to adopt a compliant flood damage prevention ordinance and submit it to DEC for approval. So those are important dates that are happening. All through last year, our staff, led by Abigail Connor, who you'll hear from in a moment, has been busy compiling resources, going through like existing videos, creating any needed ones to fill gaps that we see in what our residents might have for questions and how to direct them regarding insurance and what the flood maps mean, and some of the kind of frequently asked questions that people might have during this process. We are looking at probably late February launching a website to support our community members in this transition so they understand kind of what the next steps are and where they can go for more information. Then we've got a couple resolutions today, but I did want to just give a shout out to Darby Kiley of our office that we were awarded $75,000 grant from the DEC for the Fall Creek Stream Corridor and Assessment Study. It's the same grant funding and basically the same scope of work as what we got last year for the 6 Mile Creek study. So that's on your packet today for more questions for Darby if you have it. But also wanted to let you know that the state did release their list of other awarded funding under the Water Quality Improvement Projects grants. And some of them I thought you might be interested in knowing about if you haven't heard about it. The town of Danby was awarded just under $4.6 million to construct a sanitary sewer collection system and 2 package membrane bioreactor wastewater treatment plants for the Central and West Hamlet centers to replace inadequate on-site septic systems. So that's great, and it's the focus on that is to reduce phosphorus entering Cayuga Lake, which is a big component of our water quality issues there. The second one, Town of Lansing was awarded $325,000 to purchase a vacuum truck to remove debris from catch basins in Lansing and the village of Cayuga Heights, and it says generally Tompkins County. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it'll ensure that the catch basins remain clear of debris and, again, protect water quality. And the last one is the town of Ulysses was awarded just over $500,000 to replace an undersized culvert on Garrett Road with a new arch culvert with a natural channel bottom, kind of a new way of doing culverts that will reduce erosion, stabilize the stream banks, and improve the aquatic connectivity to Cayuga Lake. That's it from me.
Thank you. Any questions for Katie? Randy?
On the grant program with Danby for, Dan mentioned it, that the planning department helped, I'm sorry, talking to myself. So that the planning department helped them to do an application, and they got roughly $600,000 for some type of upgrades to buildings or new buildings, and I'd like to know a little more about that. Is it existing buildings, upgrading them, or whatever it is? And how would other municipalities connect with the planning department to explore how it would work for them?
Sure, yeah, I just reported that to HED last week, but it is, they took advantage of our housing, what do we call it? Housing affordability and infrastructure grant program.
So you have trouble with that type too.
Do. And it's anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 that a municipality can apply for from the county, and they can use that money to do a host of different things to promote housing. So it could be infrastructure for housing. We've found some of the most successful have applied for money to hire a consultant to write a community development block grant application, which is what Danby did. They hired Toma Associates, and they wrote a successful application for CDBG money. So they got actually $695,000 for housing rehabilitation. So that'll be going toward fixing up housing, making them safe and attractive and accessible. So they're existing structures within Danby.
Okay. And who at the planning department would they reach out to?
That's Shauna Stevenson is leading that work.
And you folks are proactive about reaching out for these programs too.
Yes, we are. We share it with our municipal partners. We typically either go to TCOG or send some kind of note to TCOG members that this funding exists as well.
Okay, thank you.
And I had one question regarding the, you said regarding the flood maps, local municipalities have to adopt the maps to be eligible? Can you?
No, the maps go in force whether anybody locally likes it or not. It's a national thing. But what they need to do is the local municipalities are required to create a compliant flood damage prevention ordinance.
Okay.
And get that approved by New York State DEC. So that way, the people who live there will be eligible for the National Flood Insurance Program.
And then the National Flood Insurance Program, that's reduced flood insurance, or is it they can't get a flood insurance unless this
right?
Ordinance
they can't
is
get
adopted.
the insurance.
So they can't even get flood insurance.
Our experts here with us who can correct anything I said wrong.
Stray away from expert, but they can't get the federally backed. That's what the NFIP is. That's the federally backed flood insurance policy. If these local floodplain damage prevention ordinances are not adopted, which will mention these new maps, are required to mention these new maps as the prevailing data.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Norma?
Are these, is that still being phased, the national insurance program, is that still being phased out?
They have updated policies, which will be in effect, which is the risk rating 2.0 program.
Okay, so some of these folks that are required to have the flood insurance when they obtain a mortgage will still have some coverage federally backed?
They'll need to reach out to their individual insurance agent to insure things like that. Okay. That is most of what we're encouraging, and FEMA has told us to encourage folks to do, is to reach out to their insurance agent, because that is who can answer those questions. FEMA can't even really answer the insurance questions for them. Their insurance agent has to.
The insurance companies can sometimes too. But are they sending notifications out to individual? I mean, is there a campaign going out for the homeowners?
So there was notification when the maps were preliminary, which were the open houses we saw in early, like April of 2023, where folks got notification there. At this point, the municipalities have just received those letters. We'll communicate with them to see if they're planning to do that. But folks, at some point, as we get much closer to the date, we'll hear from their lenders. We're trying to figure out a way to make sure that that's not the only way they hear about this.
Just to clarify, though, they're not phasing out the flood insurance program. It's a 2.0. It's, they value it differently. It's more complicated.
Yeah, it's been reduced. The backing has been reduced.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you for that update. Then we have a resolution, so I'm going to just get it on the floor, and then, so authorization, this is packet page 12. There's also a memo that Darby prepared on packet page 13. This is authorization to accept New York State non-agricultural, non-point source planning grant for Fall Creek Stream Corridor Assessment, ID 13005. Would someone like to get that on the floor? Veronica, and seconded by Randy. And Darby, Kylie is here. Would you like to tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, as Katie mentioned, this is part of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation's non-agricultural, non-point source planning grant. This is the second year that they provided this funding category for doing a stream corridor assessment. And they have a kind of a list of data that needs to be collected, and then priorities that the grantee for us, the Tompkins County and our partners will prioritize opportunities for implementation. So that'll include stream bank stabilization, riparian buffer, installation, floodplain reconnection, culvert replacement. So those kinds of projects are what we'll be looking for to prioritize as the data is collected about the stream conditions within Fall Creek. And this is a follow-up to the drinking water source protection plan that Cornell is doing for their drinking water source on Fall Creek. So it kind of flows with how last year we applied for 6 Mile Creek because the city had just finished their DWSP2, and now Cornell's finishing their DWSP2, so applying for this Fall Creek money.
DW.
Drinking water source protection plan,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a good one.
Any questions? Well, thank you for securing this grant. Was it you who put this application in? Or? So thank you for getting this grant also. All right, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. And now you can get to work more on this. And
right.
So thank you.
Yes. In a year when we see a contract for it. Yeah, I mean, it takes a while.
Thank you. And then we'll have Abigail for resolution. This is on packet page 14, so I'm going to get this one on the floor. This is, and also there's a memo on packet page 15 prepared too by Abigail. So this is acceptance of snowmobile trail grant for 24-25 season, ID 13015. Would someone like to put that on the floor? Put it on the floor by Randy, seconded by Greg. So we have Abigail Connor here. What would you like to tell us about this? I know this is a yearly pass-through program, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so this is pass-through funding that Kelly, who's here from our office, helps the local clubs get this money to help with maintenance of their trails. And it's pass-through money that our department works on.
Okay. Is it about the same amount each year?
Yep.
Any questions?
We just need snow, right?
You know something about the snow or something? Oh, okay.
Good Hill. I went cross-country skiing this weekend. Go up there. Anyway, I did want to highlight that Kelly Mosier is our principal account clerk typist. I'm not sure everyone's had a chance to meet her, but she does do the bulk of the work on this program, and it's not always easy getting the required reporting out of the snowmobile clubs. So she does a great job with that.
Well, thank you, Kelly. Did we vote on this one yet? We didn't vote. No. Okay. Any questions before we vote? besides the snow? We have a little bit right now, but probably not enough to go snowmobiling in most places. Okay, all those in favor? That passes unanimously too. We're rocking today, so thank you very much. And let's see, next one is a budget adjustment. This on packet page 16. This is also from the Department of Planning and Sustainability, 2024 budgeted funding for the Municipal Parks and Trails Grant Program, ID 13012. Would someone like to move that? Moved by Randy, seconded by Greg. Okay. So, and Darby, you had done this before, so can you tell us a little bit about this? I think this looks like it's just moving money into the leftover into next year, or is there more to it?
Yeah, the way that we ran the program last year is that we provided one-year contracts to the municipality. So some of them we didn't sign until May, and a couple even into July. So they had one full 12 months to work on their projects. And so some of them were not, about half of them were not finished at the end of 2024. So we need to move that remaining 18,100 into 2025 to make sure we can reimburse them for the contracts that we have that run through that time.
Okay, any questions? Randy.
Thank you for the accounting maneuver. I think it's important to do those types of things, and probably more departments may want to think about that. So how much money is available for this year? Zero?
Correct. It wasn't included in the 2025 budget.
Okay.
And actually, there wasn't much demand in 2024. We kind of had to beat the bushes to make sure we spent that money, so it's another reason it wasn't funded.
And typically, how much was it per year? I can't remember.
It was
50,000?
50,000,
Okay.
yep. But it was, every time it was a member-filed addition to our budget, so just
Okay, thank you.
something could be brought up again if somebody wants to.
Okay, I appreciate it.
And so this is to fill out the contracts that we had in the awards from last year, so there's no new money for this year, just to be clear on that, because we didn't put it back in the budget. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Darby. And then we have, here's the next one also. This is packet page 17, a budget adjustment, Department of Planning and Sustainability, 6 Mile Creek Stream Corridor Assessment Grant, ID 13013. Can someone move that? Moved by Veronica, seconded by Greg and Darby.
Yeah, this is, again, another accounting maneuver. As we were awarded the money last year. We actually don't have a signed contract from the state yet, so we haven't spent the money, we haven't been reimbursed the money, so we needed to make sure it shows up in the 2025 budget. And I'm told this is how that happens. So, we should be getting a signed contract, executed contract from the state soon. I heard there's a backlog in the comptroller's office that has been, so things are moving again now. So then we'll go out to bid with a contractor, do a request for proposals. So that should be getting moved along pretty soon. Yeah.
Okay, great. Any questions?
If I could just add, just so you all know, we applied for this money in July 2023. So just so you understand some of the time lags that we deal with in our department and why you see so many budget maneuvers.
I think Randy's coined a new phrase that seems like it's being adopted. Randy, you have another new
So
phrase?
is this money that we are reimbursed after we spend it, or do we get the money in advance?
No, we spend it and then are reimbursed, yes.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Is that all you have, Darby, today?
Kind of, I might be back.
You have, might be for another one? Okay. And let's see, then the next one is on packet page 18. This is budget reappropriation of grant funds to the 2024 budget for the Business Energy Advisors Program. Are you here for that, Terry?
I am. So I'm standing in for Haley, who unfortunately couldn't join us today. But this particular resolution is something that we've done.
Sorry, should we put it on the floor?
Oh, yes.
And can I move the revised version?
Thank
Which
you.
just has a clarifying phrase, I think.
Thank you. So we're going to put it on the floor first.
Okay.
Thank you. Would someone like to move? This is the revised version we have on the desk. Moved by Greg, seconded by Veronica. Sorry, I didn't sit back far enough.
I'm making a face. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead and tell us about this, Terry. What?
Neither Terry or I have the revised version,
Oh.
so I don't know what you're talking about.
The revised version, it just spells out NYSERDA, which was
Okay.
offered without explanation, but it is the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, for those listening.
Yes, thank you. We
Is that
appreciate that.
correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, so this is yet again another budget maneuver. It's something that we've done for the last few years. The Business Energy Advisor Program was a program that was started by the Planning Department 5 years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, maybe more.
2017?
2017, wow, so a lot more, 8 years ago. And essentially it works with businesses and nonprofits to provide them support as they're looking to do new construction or major renovation projects. It pairs them with a consultant, an energy consultant, to look at their plans and help look at how they can be done in a more efficient manner and how they can garner grant funding or tax credits or other sources of revenue to help them do this, do those projects in a more efficient manner. The program saw a little bit of a lull during COVID and the subsequent years, but last year really picked up once again, in large part due to the efforts of Haley Delisle, who runs the program. And so what this resolution is doing is it's just reappropriating the funding that we had left over at the end of 2024 for 2025.
Any questions?
Is this for businesses only?
The program has worked with nonprofits. It's worked with municipalities as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you, Terry. And then we have packet page 20, a resolution to accept the acceptance of grant from the Park Foundation to continue to provide. Well, no, this is, a separate one. Okay, this is for the acceptance of the money from the Park Foundation, sorry. Yes, so this is acceptance of grant from the Park Foundation to continue to provide consultant services through the Business Energy Advisors Program, ID 13019. Can someone move that one? Veronica, seconded by Greg. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't reading the last one. Okay, would you like to talk about this one too? It looks like you're accepting I think it's $75,000 from the Park Foundation.
Yep, so once again, standing in for Haley, who wrote this grant and submitted it to the Park Foundation, and we have received $108,000 for 2 years to help support the BEA program, the Business Energy Advisor Program. So that program, to not conflict with gifting rules, requires us to receive outside funding to be able to provide the consultant support to the businesses, nonprofits, et cetera. And so we've been fortunate to receive funding from the Park Foundation for several years, and this is the latest iteration of that. So again, $108,000. We're hoping to have that support for at least the next 2 years. And we're actually, Haley's in the midst of writing an RFP to kind of start a new refresh of the program. For those of you that don't know, the Park Foundation just started a building decarbonization fund that's working with nonprofits to help provide them funding for their projects that they might be doing. There's, I believe 2 programs. There's one that's providing grant funds and another that's providing very, very low interest financing. I think it's sub 1% financing for them to do clean energy projects. And so the new iteration of the Business Energy Advisor Program is hoping to support that program by providing additional consultant services to those nonprofits that are engaging in that building decarbonization fund. So, yeah, we're excited to get this funding and to see the BEA program continue.
Great. Any questions? Sorry, I got the figure wrong. 75, 75, and then 108. So a lot of money you guys have secured for your programs, so thank you. All right, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, Terry. And does that conclude the planning department? You guys had quite a lot of stuff today, so thank you very much for all the great work you're doing. And next up, we have Leo Riley, the Director of the Department of Recycling and Materials Management. Hi, Leo. Do you have any updates for us today?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I thought I'd update you on a few things. I should be fairly quick. Thought I'd start with staffing. As of last Monday, our department is fully staffed, probably for the first time in a number of years. 14 employees. We do have 2 part-time positions budgeted to add in 2025. One of those is a code enforcement officer, 20 hours a week. As you know, one of our goals is to complete and update our Chapter 140 solid waste laws in the county. So on the heels of updating those and adding some things, we've planned to add a code enforcement officer. County had one for a number of years. And once COVID hit, he had retired and we just hadn't replaced him. So the other part-time position is a part-time food scrap driver, and that's on the heels of a food scrap collection grant that we received. So those 2 positions would be probably the driver, third quarter, second quarter, I would say, on the code enforcement officer.
Great. Greg?
What do you envision the code enforcement officer doing?
So a few of the things that we experience, one, illegal dumping. We have managed to field those calls, illegal dumping calls. We managed to pick up that material. We managed to go through it to an extent to try to identify, a culprit. And we do have the mechanism to find them once we get to that point. So there's the enforcing of the illegal dumping. The other main task would be enforcing the trash tag laws. So as you know, our pay-as-you-throw system requires a tag on the bag or a can of garbage. So often we deal with newer haulers or haulers that don't necessarily work through the licensing procedure. So it's enforcing the licensing for folks that are collecting garbage and then enforcing the use of the tags. That's extremely important because we have a number of haulers that play by those rules, and they're doing it the right way, and it's difficult on them if it's not enforced because it's important to keep that level playing field. Those are two main things, and of course the hauler licensing I mentioned too. We have 4 main chapters. It's hauler licensing, trash tags, illegal dumping, and mandatory recycling. That would be the other thing too, is there are mandatory recycling laws for certain materials. And that is something where we need to be enforcing that. So whether it's commercial businesses that aren't recycling, or whether it's haulers that are offering a commercial MSW service without offering a recycling service.
What's MSW?
I'm sorry, municipal solid waste.
Thank you. Randy?
Leo, I wonder if you could, I'm not sure Course is aware of this, how the Recycling and Solid Waste Center is funded. Maybe you could share how we charge a fee of, I think, $82 per household to fund all these things. So it's a separate budgetary thing. If you could just quickly, in 1 minute, explain that.
Yeah, I could try to. It might be a challenge in 1 minute, but actually,
We
Corsa...
can give you 2 minutes if you want.
Actually, Corsa is visiting our department this afternoon.
Okay. Oh, great.
So he'll be sitting down with Kat and I to go over some of this stuff. So we'll start it a little sooner, I guess. We contract out for the operation of a recycling solid waste center. That's a center that accepts waste recycling, household hazardous waste, different types of materials, and we contract that out with Casella Waste Systems. So that's one, we kind of refer to the Recycling Solid Waste Center as a cornerstone or foundation of our programs. The funding, we basically have roughly four revenue streams. One of those is an annual fee that is billed out to all the residents in the county, commercial businesses, colleges, and institutions. So that's our main revenue source. The other revenue sources come in tipping fees, so materials that cross the scales at the Recycling Solid Waste Center, and then some additional fees, if you will, through permits to use the facility. We have revenue source from grants, and I think those are our main revenue streams. That kind of cover it.
Well, if you're going to meet with him later, you can explain all that to him. So.
There's quite a lot to it, so he'll hear probably quite a bit more on that this afternoon as well. But
I have another question. First of all, I actually I went to take some things down there a few Saturdays ago, and my permit had expired. Mm-hmm. So they allow you to pay $15 as a temporary fee, and then give it credit if you come within a month. They give you the credit for the $15 for your fee on your vehicle.
Yep.
So I came down and did that, and I was surprised to see that I wasn't the only person doing that. They had a stack of about that many that in that month period of time that other people had expired or got a temporary permit. And your staff was very friendly and efficient, so I just wanted to share you with that.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah, they're great. So but I have a question for you. So there's a manufactured home park that the garbage is not picked up in well over a month. Is that a health department issue, or would that be a code issue?
Pickup of trash.
Yeah, no pickup in a month.
Would it be, do they have a dumpster?
They actually go by, I think there's 90 mobile homes in this particular park, and the garbage is in front of each one of them. So you can imagine the piles from Christmas. So I was just curious, is that a health department issue, or is that a code issue?
Well, good question. So this mobile home park most likely contracts with a hauler or collector to come in there.
Casella, yep.
And have that service. So I think the first thing I would look to do to try to understand that is why they're not being serviced. So it could be a few different things there. But yeah, in the event, I haven't dealt with it really all that much as far as health, mental health. I'm sorry, yeah, health code or us. Yeah, I can check into it, Randy.
I recommended one of the residents to call the health department. That was my suggestion, but thinking environmental health might be the bigger issue there. I didn't know. So.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you contact Casella directly if they're supposed to be the ones?
Well, they did that, and they were told that, well, it's not their issue. It's a park issue, not a Casella issue.
Yeah, I think I have some of an understanding with it, but if you want to send me the name of the park, I can look into it a little bit further.
Okay.
Yeah, with the park owner information, if you have that. I know I've dealt with some issues with parks before. People have come to me before, and yeah, it's. sometimes it's, I've had luck with different issues, or just calling up the park owner and seeing, finding out what's going on.
Yeah, a little more information, I'll be able to kind of figure it out. Yeah.
Anything else? Any other questions for Leo?
So that's on, I'm sorry, that's on our staffing. Just real quick, we haven't executed the contract extension for the recycling solid waste centers yet. Going back and forth between the lawyers getting the wording just right. So we're still working on that. And we're working currently on a lot of our annual reporting. This is the time of the year where we're reporting to the DEC on a few of our operations, the transfer station report, household hazardous waste report, electronics reporting. So that's where we gather all of our volumes, different types of materials, and their destination facilities. So it's that time of year. The last thing, there's a meeting that's coming up, and I think a couple of you might be going to it, Food Futures, Tompkin Food Futures on the 24th. The department will have representation there as well to try to better understand that visioning. And I understand they're engaging stakeholders in that meeting as well. So.
Oh, good. I just want to say I'm not able to go to that. Okay, Randy's going, or anybody else going? Okay. Maybe?
Maybe. I don't have my calendar sorted, but I hope to come to some of it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have representation there too.
Great.
So I just wanted to make sure you knew that. And then lastly, you mentioned work goals, work plans. We're finalizing our department work plans and goals. I believe those need to be to bridge it by the 31st, I want to say. So yeah, we'll zero in on that by the end of the month. So that's all I've got.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Veronica?
This is not quite on the topic of anything, but Randy made me think of it, and since you're here, a constituent of mine emailed to tell me that a Casella driver had apparently behaved aggressively toward him while he was biking, and he wanted some accountability for that. I don't want to go deep into it here, but I don't even know where to start quite. Is this a question for you, or there's a lot of links in the chain there?
Well, again, I guess if I had some more information onto it, I'd know how to direct it. So we contract with Casella for the collection of curbside recyclable pickups. If it has anything to do with that contract, any complaints we get, regarding that, we handle that right directly with representatives from Casella. Yeah, if it's got to do with MSW trash collection, we really don't have any authority to deal with that. I would say something like that would be, I would contact the local police department or something of that nature. But again, if I have a little more information onto it, I'd better be able to direct.
Sure, I'll follow up. I guess it may be unknown what contract that truck was operating for at that particular moment.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of business to business that goes on with their trucks. So, but it sounds like it's a vehicle driving down the road, and a bicyclist was on the roadside or whatnot. Yeah. Yep. But I don't have any problems passing any information on to the representatives at Casella, whether it has to do with our contract or anything else. So I'd be happy to just inform them as to what went on at the very least.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
Great, anything else? All right, Leo, thank you so much for the update, all the updates.
You're welcome.
And then next, I see we have Cynthia Brock on the Zoom. We have from the Water Resources Council, we have some updates. Hi, Cynthia.
Hi, Ann. It's good to see you. Thank you for having me here. I'm happy to be here on behalf of the Water Resources Council to discuss our newest update to the Water Quality Strategy Report. As you know, we update the Water Quality Strategy Report every 3 years. And with this report, we have the opportunity to integrate the DEC's new adopted total maximum daily load for phosphorus, which has been implemented for Cayuga Lake. This is something that we have been waiting for many, many years. And the newest iteration of the report is to focus our efforts in educating municipalities and stakeholders with the goals of the TMDL, working with the DEC directly to provide as many resources we can as an intermediary between the DEC and stakeholders. The strategy report also includes our efforts that we have undertaken in the last 3 years, as well as moving forward. As Darby indicated, we are also working with municipalities on helping advance the drinking water source protection program plans, both for 6 Mile Creek and Fall Creek, and Bolton Point is also working on developing their DWSB2 as well.
Cynthia, I'm going to interrupt you for a sec. Are you going to at some point do a slideshow presentation, or is this just, I didn't know, we do have a.
No, I wasn't planning on doing a slideshow presentation. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that's what you had been looking for.
Oh, no, I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing something.
Okay.
So, no, we do have your packet here. I just wanted to make sure. Sometimes people are talking and then they realize their slides aren't up, so. Great.
Oh, yes, no.
So no worries. Thank you for providing this and also the links. I looked at a lot of the maps and the additional information. There's quite a lot of information here, so thank you.
Yes, and so I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I didn't mean to interrupt you too much. Was there anything else you were going to say in your report?
Well, every year the Water Resources Council reforms its working groups and committees to prioritize actions to advance the Water Quality Strategy Report. We will be initiating that process this month to put together our efforts. We also work with the Monitoring Partnership, which is made up of members of the WRC as well as area stakeholders and specialists to address concerns as they arise. The WRC works on providing comments on both legislative actions with the state. We will be providing comments with the issues that have been coming up and concerns that have been coming up with Cargill, for example. And those are many of the responsibilities that the WRC takes on.
Great, and I know Darby updates us on other things having to do with water and is involved in your group here. Anything you wanted to add, Darby, or any questions from the group? Is there anything you'd like us, Cynthia, to keep on our radar for the coming year?
Well, I think we continue to look to find ways to encourage best practices in private property owners. as the TMDL identifies, the greatest source of phosphorus and nutrients to the lake come from non-point sources. We have very little in way of tools to implement best practices on private property, other than through advanced communication, collaboration, education, to encourage property owners to voluntarily implement perhaps riparian buffers, look at their practices, whether or not it's adequate fencing to keep animals at a distance from streams and waterways. And I think what I am very interested in is how can we find collaborative mechanisms to work with property owners to advance these practices.
Great. Do you work with our soil and water department at all, or our ag and farmland protection committee?
The Tompkins County Soil and Water Conservation District, I think, is the best avenue in doing this, working with landowners who choose to work with the district to come up with management plans and improvement plans. Of course, there's also opportunities to support their efforts with funding to sort of, as plans are put together, oftentimes that last missing step is that last component of funding that actually makes it implementable on behalf of the property owners.
And I know rules and regulations would be helpful too. It was big blow regarding Owasco Lake watershed rules and regs that the was it the DEC? I think that do I have this right? Darby Health.
It was the Department of Health that notified the purveyors, City of Auburn and Town of Owasco, that they would not be allowing the amendments to their watershed rules and regs. Yeah.
Right. I think their basis was they didn't really need to provide additional.
That's what the letter said, correct?
Yeah, they didn't need to provide additional rules and regulations that, and this is in my words, that everything was going to be okay without that. And so that was, I know folks have been working on that for years and years. So that was a bit disappointing. So that's hard with people, opting in. I know as far as just one indicator, as people often hear about, is the HABs, the harmful algal blooms that we've seen more and more. I know a lot of times people are wanting to swim and do other recreational things, kayaking and boating and various things in the water, and it's very dangerous with the amount of harmful algal blooms we've been having, which is just one indicator of our watershed's health. Randy?
Yeah, I'd just like to add the Tompkins County Soil and Water and other soil and water districts in the Finger Lakes region received 3 times the funding that they've received in prior years. I think it's a 5-year commitment to that, which is good news. And municipalities can get involved. There's other entities. Also, the Tompkins County Soil and Water is going to be providing documentation of the actual projects they've done over the last 5 years and the benefits of those, which is real. I mean, a lot of things are going on, a lot of farms, a lot of things are happening, but nobody remembers what happened 2 or 3 years ago, and so that documentation is going to be complete. They also are just finishing up a project in Shelter Valley, which is a pretty big project, and they're going to have a drone go in, and because it's a half mile off of the road, they're going to show all the things that happen there. I'm excited to see that myself, and I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. And Greg has a question.
Yeah. Hi, Cynthia. Thanks for being here with us. Question on the report that you had provided, or Darby, I don't know where that came from, or a collection of the two. The Environmental Management Council seat on the Water Resources Council shows vacant. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there is there an effort to fill that seat, or it seems like a pretty important sort of relationship to maintain?
Yeah, I can answer this, Cynthia. I think this year we even had a turnover of 2 people. David Wolf was on that seat, and then Peter Penniman more recently. So, I mean, he just stepped down. So, we are actively filling it. But it's a big commitment because you're asking someone to be on the EMC and the WRC. So, trying to find the right person who wants to do both.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're kind of in our recruiting. There are a couple other vacancies because a couple of these, the business and industry, if you know anyone in any business or industry that works with water resources, let me know. Patrick just stepped down at the end of his term in 2024. I think that's might be the only other ones. And we did have a municipal government seat that I think is now will be filled.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thanks.
I have one last comment I forgot to mention. Both the town, since Brian's here, both the town of Enfield and town of Newfield approved the resolutions related to Cargill. There was one dissenting vote in both boards, and both of those dissenting votes were related to also stating that Cargill's a good company, they provide great jobs, and those kind of things. Or they would have supported the resolution, but it was all, they felt too negative on Cargill, which is why they voted no. So, but they did pass both those boards.
I think Dryden did as well. And I do think that you can be a wonderful company and provide amazing jobs, but also the need for an EIS to provide public information for evaluation, standards that are applied to other mines, except for Cargill, I think is a valid point to say you can still provide this information and be a wonderful company.
And Randy,
I agree.
Which towns did you say? Enfield and Newfield?
Newfield, both.
And town of Ulysses did too. Yeah, and I'll second what was said. They provide great jobs and they're a big economic driver in the communities. And, what the resolutions were asking for was for information or for an environmental impact statement to be done and disclosed to the public. So any other comments or conversation on this? Well, Cynthia, thank you so much for coming to us today. And so you come every 2 years, is that correct?
I think I've come every year.
Okay. I
Yes.
thought it was every year, but then I saw the report was for 2 years. So, okay. So,
Well, the water quality strategy report is done every 3 years, but
3 years,
I
okay.
do believe I come to Peak every year. So
Well,
it's always good to see you.
I always do appreciate it. So thank you so much for keeping us updated on what you're doing. And please thank your group for the great work that they do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for next, are there any committee member reports? Okay, then on anything else from staff before we adjourn? Okay, we are adjourned. So thank you, everybody, and hope everybody has a good rest of your year and good start to your year. Thank you.